I made it. Although I just realized I could have just teleported. But I wanted to know if I could, go through this without crashing. Because that's pretty ideal. Uh, we can find our way back. Who came up with this location? There's some stuff I can use. This should be a gimme though. I think the glider's physics changed. I can't do the thing I like to do anymore. Or maybe I'm just out of practice somehow.
Animation, annotation. NPCs fill the worlds of our favorite video games in a multitude of ways. I happen to like motion games, and I also like virtual photography, aka the use of in-game photo modes and camera tools to frame and compose interesting shots. So, at the intersection of those two things, I've been photographing NPCs as my subjects of interest for some time.
That's the location for one of the gliding outfits.
Follow them around, and I imagine what their lives might be like. I pay extra attention to behavior patterns that I think might go unnoticed. Wait, that's what I read. The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is a delight. For about 1,001 reasons super glued to one another.
May as well get it.
In tandem to like in Hyrule. You don't. Stress. Breath of the Wild actually did the same. What made Tears of the Kingdom so special are that one, Hyrule has developed in a big way, much more filled out and connected, and two, a large number of seasons.
The Thorn Mountain is over here.
And their storylines and dialogue are expanded on and continue to find what the screen established about each of them. This holds true for small worlds. There are no spoilers here for the story, but it does necessitate side quests and spoilers across both games. Let's kick off with an example. It featured these two bickering old men, Vulcan and Steve, of Kakariko Village. One group of kids were characters. Reference. Sometimes you can even catch Vulcan sneaking into Steve's garden and stomp all over his carrots. As the town's resident expert on fortified fountains, Vulcan cryptic things. The one runs at night to fill with currents. Only stopping to complain about Steve's recklessness if you talk to him. Steve cultivated dominance, and of course, valued and practiced offense, and their rivalry was largely relegated. One thing noticed in the background. Being teams of Yoko were asked to reconcile a smack as part of the cycles. When you're first in the boat, the argument for offense versus defense again, and around the eye, this team just carries a blade of offense, while Wolf just carries a shield for defense. It's a fun way of inserting a rifle, batting the camera down. Also, see how the animators have kept their fists shaking while they yell at each other. I noticed a similar animation on just about any character, Huffin and Puffin, after a riled up Goron in especially a pretty fun effect to see up close. From a full distance, still registering.
What's in here? Nothing. Nothing new.
By showing off the value of the balance,
Just some boring stuff. Oh well.
Resolve Steve's long-standing dispute. Afterwards, you can walk in and find them comfort sleep about how good friends they are now. Vulcan also fulfills a lifelong dream of having his pumpkin stocked in the shop, which is run by Steve's wife. Mention being upset about Steve not allowing him to back in her Bible. You're a full character arc for these two men play out over the course of 2 games, beginning with silly rivalry and friendship. Not see them sabotaging the other's garden and instead catch them helping tend to each other's crops in the hours of the morning. And all of them, you can see them go from tending one crop to the other together. Like in the best game, specific routines for each day cycle. To get refreshing from each hobby, so just Kato and his wife Nova were separated. Working to make them travel but possible to get so finally hustled. Even his beloved pets have abandoned, follow him around for a while, and find that part of his standing outside his wife's shop. His mother asks her for forgiveness. Ultimately, it works out every time. How goes out? Whatever. Sorry, the fine Rolla has picked up on more than she lets on. Or to Dorian's family, which hadn't even told her backstory in the last game. Dorian was a widower and a father. To learn about how he lost his wife to the Bermuda clan by taking on his side quest. And I won't recap all of it, but the plan is basically a magic hero ripped straight out of his own samurai. Here's a book. My father started off translating life and extractions. While the youngest, Kotla, runs off to play. You can find Kotla drawing pictures in the dirt everywhere possible. Sometimes it's pictures of herself with her mom. She can.
Why is it always just shirts?
She tries.
Can't I get like a pants or a hat? For once. It looks cool.
She's gone. After going back to keep her fate a secret from them back for a while. You can order a quiet disguise later into Tears of the Kingdom and try to talk to Dory King. It's history from Breath of the Wild. He isn't. Frankly, her characters' comments about the subject, Myra, Vera, and especially Joshua have animated connections to it. And Dorian's like a particularly nice touch because otherwise such a tertiary figure. This is just one example out of many. Vulcan and Steve will warn you to take it off lest you offend someone, like Dorian. On the flip side, Townspeople will wish you well. Buy one of the local garments, then attach it to your equipment. As with the last game, there are
Really? Combat training?
you have to choose to put on, or no. However, there will be attachments too. Sometimes they comment on the capacity of little speech bubbles. Other times, are excited to talk to you. NPC routine vary based on the weather. It's truly impressive that their dialogue for scripted events can vary based on weather and type of thing.
I hate the training shrines. There's way too many of them. And they suck to redo. They suck the first time too, honestly, but that's probably just because I'm already good at the game.
As with the comics under close, this helps make your interactions feel personalized. And Breath of the Wild too, as it's taken to another level. Any knowledge you can recall about rejected these has some potential to add attention to how they're reacting. There isn't much information online that the specifics of the program. Here's a note. Credit to that. Even the more episodic side quests, while subtle ways, take Kiana from the small seaside fishing town of Lurelin. Last game, she was a stay-at-home mom in a family, living with a fisherman husband and sons. She was defined and defined herself purely by her love of laundry, cooking. She had the signature dish her family loved, the seafood paella that they asked you to ingredients. Here's a tip. She's putting her culinary skills to use professional. She's a restaurant called Azure Bay, titled to good for her, right? She even has that seafood paella on her menu, and will serve one to wait on the house. As a whole, Merlin Butcher's shirts, shorts, shell necklaces, and hand-carved jewelry vests all lend themselves to a scrappy but self-sufficient vibe. The costumes and props feel handcrafted and befitting of the small fishing town aesthetic. As stated in the art book Champion, Merlin villagers were designed with warm tropical weather in mind, while most of them wear short sleeves. I especially love the pieces of cloth some of the women tied around their arms. Sure to have a lot of uses while out. It's a cultural thing crosses borders too. Calro be more important character. So, there's one on his arm too. I want to shout out his design because there were some accessories worth highlighting. I think for this, but I actually see everyone on his neck. Which later on, I noticed was a portable magnifying glass. First of all of that understand JVCs. Most of the quests are publicly, and these references I've been mentioning are features at best. Your potential for hijinks, therefore, largely subject to the an abundance of storytelling workbenches by spoofing confines of two going through full arcs and backward. It dates back to Breath of the Wild first, but at the time, were more isolated from the rest of Hyrule than other Hylian towns. For reasons I won't spoil, this has changed a bit in our latest entry. Nowadays, you're able to find them traveling, camping, or set up in other towns. In fact, if you happen to meet Tiana and her family before they return to Lurelin, they'll recognize you and talk about how you made an impression on them while they were out camping. Again, using a personal touch to the order directly. One side quest sees Tiana's kids Mother's old shirt to surprise me. But nodding and dressed 7 years ago. So this is your
Yeah, I fucked that up terribly.
after finding
I tried doing the thing where I activate the thingy
and all of the family members
at the last second. I wasted a fairy.
The cat himself, Masto, really keeps his eyes glued to the so he won't notice the shirt again. But I waited around until he got up for bed just to see if he noticed that. Yes, it's a more isolated quest line, but I got a good chuckle out of it all. Sure gives me reference to Link's first outfit, fitting Merlin's resemblance jobs and I but any of that context, Jim and cosplaying after. Check out their coffee situation. See both only got copies of Sebastian's furniture hung up on signs. I think, however, all speak budding romance with one of whom comes on a retreat after he helped him finish his quest lines. See, again, this is a sub-story that takes place entirely within the confines of Tears, and Berlin also features the fisherman Arms, fighting up yourself to his catch because more than defeated, violent, altruistic as ever in Tears of the Kingdom, as he offers you to take absolutely finds while out fishing. All in all, it's a lot of characters and even the personality is being exciting. I don't see it purely as though, but more so as like, characters are all archetypes, but they some of them develop. In some cases, their fashion sense changes with the times. There exists too. There once was a single-minded quest giver named Annie of Hateno Village, who was infatuated with Oki, and asked Link to scope out her interests for him. It didn't go well. Being a bit of a running joke, she decided to not almost the exact same ways that Prima's in File, but the target actions has shifted. Nowadays, obsessed with the general source creep, like, it makes sense he's had to move on though. Is happily married to someone else now. Check her out. First in Breath of the Wild, and here with her husband in Tears of the Kingdom. For a good measure, the before and after of IV2. Here's one of them. Now, if you haven't played the game, I promise there's a perfectly reasonable explanation for the mushroom hats. Don't look good. Checked out Donkey, Hateno. It looks less acidic than the rest of the population, but they are part of how Tears think to mix things up. It has it cycles a few past moments. Certainty, joke, the fact that the game plays it straight, is that much funnier. Hateno Village has gone through a major change with the arrival of Cece, a fashion designer whose trends have taken the town by storm. NPCs here, especially the younger ones, tend to be sporting their strange brand of mushroom-themed clothes. I use with you for dressing on couture as well. A part of how I think NPCs to snapshot is what I see them wearing or carrying, and Hateno is a hotbed of different fashion styles, urban developments, and agricultural innovations. As a result, it's quite rewarding to explore through a camera lens. Being a champion, artists draw a key distinction between costumes here.
I have no idea what you're supposed to do here. I don't want to do whatever they want me to do here. Not when I can just do this.
However, it does keep in mind with that to your credit. I'm also a fan of her handbag, ring, lantern designs, which are mostly carried by tourists. Check them out. But my favorite update, it has to do with the kid. It makes sense to reuse character models for the adults, or to just dress them a little. Many of them around Hyrule have recently grown up into tweens with books. Dorian's daughter, Coco, for instance, who dreamed gently on last we saw her. She's doing something else now, selling the Kakariko garments which she came up with herself. While her younger sister hasn't been visibly in the same way, finally she has matured. Follow her after her playtime. Find her practicing cooking now in a separate game.
I feel like I missed a potential clue here because I have no idea how to do this either.
Recipes Coco learned from the before and after of them by the font. Scoop takes over her mom, bring her older sister's fashion. Princess, she wants to surprise her dad and sister, so she experiments in secret. There are Nana's games, who she would watch after as they fell asleep while now seems to have gone bigger. Oh, it's their dad's turn to tuck them in for bedtime these days. So look at some of the things from Hateno. And after a breath of a while. I'm especially proud of Samaro from Rat last time. And is thrown into kind of a hurt. Stays behind to spend some extra time reading in school. Just as abrasive if you catch him doing it. So, school is important for a few reasons, but I'll cycle back to, especially at the end of the video. The kid is just one of the many elements built around content. Watching the kids run their together is boring, but it's the townspeople's admiration for Zelda. She's the one who led the majority of the development efforts all around town. In the construction of the school, one of the students, Gari, obsessed with her. She wanted Zelda's house every day after
Seriously,
school.
I don't remember how I figured this out. I just kind of bullshitted and it eventually worked.
Students, and it's pretty clear that Ari must be the one of herself and her friend who cried. There's a clue one of Zelda's favorite flower, Silent Princess as well. Oh, seriously, Compass, you did also spot one more drawing. This time of one of the students with the team. As the final note on Hateno, here's a quote from former lead structural artist and now senior landscape lead artist Manabu Takehata, stating that it was designed as the baseline village concept for Breath of the Wild. It's perhaps the most populated of the towns, but with the expanded trade and globalization around Hyrule to the kingdom, one of its influence reached outwards to other parts of the world. Influence by those parts as well. Or, again, Zelda has been a key for behind the scenes. Perfect. What about her? Challenges.
Of course, an ad had to show up at that time. If anyone can tell me if there's like an easier way to do this, I'd love to know. No, 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 no.
connected. It's going to matter. Largely covered the Hylians up to this point, so before we move on to the other Hylians, I'll reiterate Nintendo and Notes on FA and Heroic on Twitter's findings about Breath of the Wild. January of 2021, they discovered that Hylian are modeled using an advanced version format. Alice has since confirmed that the same remains true for Tears. Excerpt from Creating a Champion, former NPC artist and now senior lead character artist Manabu Hiraoka called the meme a special tool they use to fine-tune the pieces almost constantly throughout production. Hiraoka also writes that the personal thing was grandly Birdman. It was just such a strange choice. It would never. There is funny to watch in the wind, I guess. Anyway, Bradley returns in Tears of the so helping explain extensions. So props to him for moving up it. I'm less psyched for set assistant Nemo. Was once a mysterious, meditating mentor figure all the way out on Eventide Island. Is now co-laborating for sure. The true recipe that every Hylian NPC named it has a personality. This also means that most of these faces are fixed and used well. One exception. I've noticed person who disguise themselves as friends don't have names, or are their faces fixed. I snapshotted, saved, and snapped the same ones a few times, and found that their faces are randomized. So look. And from what I can tell, they finite pool of faces, so they're not infinite cardinal. In fact, the piece to be made up of other existing NPCs, as seen here. While hanging out with them and disguise yourself, you can also drop bananas on the ground to trigger some funny reactions. When it comes to other such as this no, and Warhawks, there's less variability in models. That said, still distinguish art, humanoid and otherwise, where the props they carry camera aesthetic detects items tagged to your one extra personality, which I can see. You can see what kinds of weapons and shields they shape, and what enhancements or monster marks they attach to them to customize. An inventive way, it's fresh, aspect of all models. Signals their professions and interests to travelers and insectivists carry hunter shields, which are new with images of rabbits sent to block. German carry shields with them to inspire an auspicious catch. I want to protects the camera doesn't detect. For instance, some of the construction workers were still walking around the world and it's up into carrying weapons or hook shots if you prefer. Agility, a stable establishment company back in Breath of the Wild. Treasure hunting carries a particularly stuffed bag of equipment for shiny shields and weapons. All travelers carry lamps for signs of the land differ based on the emails from journalists scroll over with these fancy hands. On hold to the monster control group carrying weapons, but also wear on their heads like nice helmets. Lastly, the fashion designer, Sun Hat. The hat, she runs to the shade to shelter from. Hats off to the program. I want. As a stock with supplies. Not just the paintbrushes and pencils you see them prepared, also spare scrolls, paint, a ruler, watch his shoes like he wants to feet and sandals are separate
The small tires actually struggle on snowy terrain, so
next time someone says that I encourage them not the lot of passes, but among these market styles across the
It's a good thing I finally made an off-road vehicle.
Also, that children's drawings can have different styles too. Students in Patena draw rounded faces, only coloring essential details.
Although this
While
doesn't
Hudson
feel all that
Sauter
fast.
draws walkier, more filled-out landscapes. Lastly, his clothing line is only said returning and changed their clothes since last time. Tracy and her sisters, whose journalism business has taken off around Hyrule, and newspaper for their now as a result. One of them, Joanelle, has put on a jacket. Tracy's in a winter jacket now too. That said, her sister, Oman, is relatively perfect now. So her changed as well. Except for one small detail. She's matched her colleagues with her lucky clover is a sash on her arm to wear friend. So heavy on the zone I researched the vests, where some of the Arbitrary characters join and suit up. Again, their backpacks contain more props such as marked maps and pickaxes. And in the case of those who haven't changed, I couldn't help but argue the details in the stable worker chimneys, animal patterns on them, or shoes as their belt clasps. Very odd. Similarly, on sand seals where these sand seal pattern setups and this rock star sense, the Windsor does the same. With a lot of these artists are created a stylish application with while they are still in work. Just check out the battle sculpture before a fight breaks out and the war up in swings. The warriors arrive. Watch them all. Notice a decent amount of variation looking at their attacks and strength of speakers. Aren't distinguished by props, costumes, stand out through what else but dialogue. Not Nintendo storytelling point, but there's funny and interesting writing specific to each character's voice. Why does this one Zora go Minnie? Why does she sound a bit more familiar, flirtatious at times? Well, ask her and Brooke why. Whole story behind her and his friendship that Tears wastes no time with. Why does little Tipo see here and turns out now today were suspicious so much, despite really not knowing what it's. Well, it's because he's taken on some additional responsibilities while his father's out of town, watching over the perimeter like his dad wants to. Or his dad used to use the perfect life. There were two Hylians on a miserable honey club, no longer married to this one. His wife has found an off business. His husband has gotten married to someone else. It seems prototype. His new partner is still the outspoken one. For some self-contained examples, look at Tauro. A lot of fishing that are working virgin early. Pats itself on the back for that one. On your first visit to the Zora Kingdom, kind of with impressions of it go like this. You can see here. Dari Town also see a Hylian child who races. Their best friend was a Karut. Changes recently. Karut slang, popularized by Diamond and so many ways. Both full and interpersonal. Both visually and in dialogue. All IRF. She's taking her responsibility. So the chief quite seriously. She'll comment on all the going-ons around town capacity. One point is Mr. Kuko who drove behind her. Bubble's Neck is a nice way for kids to offer something to guard. There are also these smaller, subtler gestures characters like talking. Animations like at their head, talking about memory, closing their eyes to see moments. Stop talking about it. This Rito, Burma, gestures he doesn't make say as much as the words. He's suffering from so he doesn't lift his arms or gesture, just nurses it while talking. Otherwise, keeps it down on his hips. Finally, same thing. Okay, as we did with the hype. A lot of them have grown out. Models have been updated as a result. Regardless, time lapses in cars. That's why the village life is like full. Practically, grown up is actually vital to the sense of growth you're supposed to be. Now, there's the growing up story, awful disease. So for the town is going to the science really ties that shit together. Sad, perfect, no problem, shit, inside of the important. Still looks the same. Generically, very. Okay, let's talk. Breath of the Wild, the artist, and how do you know right? Always psychic. That's why they all take that. Consequently, its weather diets account for it to be fish. Fact. It's not dope. Still help us parse specifically. But as with the Steve, also see two new arrivals, Buck and Burla, for the reconnaissance missions outside the village, and keep packing side quests. But about this, and for a while, for upon returning to town, by screaming around visiting various spots throughout become one of the most dynamic, better, and the point. You can tell him one part is their choice of paths. One other detail I love is feathers in direction and intensity look at. That's a good thing. Next, we move on to the Zora, our resident witch elves. As with the Go item, the Zora spins flowing and the direction behind. Also have slightly diverse makeup in the items, as there's a wide variety of colors and body types inspired by different types of aquatic animals.
Yeah, the frostbite's pretty cool, and I do kind of mean that literally. So there's the frostbite shirt is part of the new armors that are based off of the dragons, and I gotta say they're really kinky looking. I feel they seem to have made Link Cat's version a little bit more conservative.
Finally, highlights the Zora Ripple. On stone tablets specifically for folks could get worn down, which is a real sparks. Very good lovely, but just see in Zora's different. Sort of short term. As she thinks for the old tablets, she does remark them. Just historical. Also hope I can escape its texts and romance. She also started working with it as well. A lovely touch. Here all day if I recite more side quests, but Manny's is far from the only one to repeats from the previous game. There's a Zora, May, who's gone missing under similar circumstances to last times. She's absent-minded and tends to lose track of time. Her husband is worried sick again. One of her kids is thinking about how to care for his brother if Mom keeps disappearing, while his brother is as aloof and chipper as May is. Each is taking after a different parent, which is fine.
I like this one in particular due to, well,
So,
what you just saw.
Goron City. Like everywhere else in Hyrule, trade and commerce has hit a new high around these parts following the expansion of the Goron's mining activities. Diamonds are now sold at a
I
discounted
thought the game
price.
crashed again, God.
They've made new breakthroughs in mining. In fact, many of the returning characters have been employed by the new Goron mining company, and strap on uniforms. Brands. You can see the workforce, which comprises both Goron and Hylian labor, performing various feats of physical labor. And some of the workers even cooling off in the water. I appreciate that the game adds some new Goron designs into the mix too. There's the Goron chef and restaurant owner, musically named Cook. There's the food critic who sits just outside and looks like a food critic who sits just outside. The inn's focus on Goron cuisine is a nice touch that builds on what we saw in the last game, like in the Soul side quest with 200 Brothers, for instance. But it also complements something Takehara discussed wanting to portray. See, in a lot of the homes around the city, you're able to find these Goron shogi boards, always mid-game. And even Goron toys. He writes that these cute recreational activities are meant to contrast the strong, rough personas they otherwise exude. In his words, demonstrate the Goron's slightly timid, softer side. On the outskirts of Gerudo Town, which only admits women, he did encounter a male Goron demanding entry into the town because his buddy told him he hadn't been allowed in. The guards don't believe him, of course. They try to turn him away. Thing is, I believe him. I believe this buddy was Linde or straight, a pair of Gorons from Breath of the Wild who were mistaken for being female and allowed entry into the town. Much to their own confusion. According to creating a champion, it wasn't uncommon for Gorons to be mistaken for Breath of the Wild. Linde is in Tears too, but he's no longer in Gerudo Town. You can meet him walking around Kobo, where he's practicing some Gerudo feats. Yes, he picked up a few things during his stay. Inside the city, you also encountered Jules, who is only a tourist just passing by us. She liked it there so much, though, that she's moved here permanently. I'll also point out this flirt called Bozai. Still lurked by the town entrance in the last game. Keep running around the perimeter in his new sand boots until you talk to him. Now, 7 years later, he's straight up busted inside. You can find him on one of the town's walls, still wearing those sand boots. You'll also know that the friend groups who hung out together last time still comprise the same NPCs. As with the retail and Hylians, you see some of the Gerudo beans grow into these new models here too. Here, look.
I'd advise staying back there, girl.
Time and again, these moments of recognition surprised me in terms of how seen they made me feel, or rather, how much I felt I was seeing of Hyrule. My particular love for Gerudo Town doesn't stem from the callbacks to Breath of the Wild, though. Rather, it's from how many unmarked quests it contains. There are some individual lines here that aren't explicitly marked in your log. You can discover them yourself and prompt their storylines to progress just by playing around a little. I'm being vague because I found these quote-unquote puzzles to be quite satisfying and worth solving yourselves. And in one particular case, the reward laugh out loud. In addition, while several of the group of I look the same, I do like the wide variety in their hairstyles, complexions, body types, ages, and patterned outfits, which we can see an overview of in some concept art here. Although there isn't much wind in the desert, you'll notice that their earrings dangle and blow in and too, just like with the Zora and Rito. Catch them somewhere else in the world, though, and you see that they jingle more in stormier weather. It's a nice touch, emblematic of just how intricate the game's systems and animations are. For fixed objects, have a look around the kitchens and cooking classrooms, where you'll see a wide array of culinary tools, including cutting boards, whisks, different kinds of mixing spoons, and mortar and pestle.
Let's go. I don't like having four hearts.
Zora, Rito, and Goron supplements are a lot more thematically distinct. Here, theme is simple but versatile, practical, fact. It's more reminiscent of what you see in the Hylian towns. Finally, Kakihara continues to be a world-building MVP, as Gerudo Town's layout has also had a lot of thematic thought put into it. Writes that, historically, any person displaying mastery over the water in a desert environment has been recognized as a sign of authority in their desert culture. It's why the town's water all flows out from Uju's throne room, signifying her authority. It's difficult to have a holistic conversation about Gerudo Town without also raising conversations about gender. To be honest, I don't love the connotations that come with excluding the Goron stamps 7 years later. They're an all-male race, or they're genderless, and simply associate male. The English version of Breath of the Wild framed them as having been allowed in by mistake, but according to a translation by Kyalone on Tumblr, the Japanese version implies the Gerudo just treat Gorons as if they could be. This quote-unquote Titan security feels like a rare instance in which Hyrule has taken a step backwards, socially, instead of forwards. It's an odd moment, in a game that's otherwise about people together, looking past their differences, and learning to rebuild. Really, it was one of very few vignettes I disliked. In the broader context, we actually see some nice moments of progression regarding NPC relationships and gender dynamics, especially from original to sequel. For the most part, Tears' female NPCs are as active and adventurous as their male counterparts. And the ones in partnerships are supported as well. Take Rolera, lived in Hateno with her husband, a while, but would often talk about missing her hometown. Now, you can convince her to move back to Lurelin, and her husband will even go with her. It's a warm display of support and reciprocation after their long years spent away. They'll even take active roles in Lurelin's development. There's this fabled place in Hyrule called Lover's Bond, a heart-shaped bond where it's said that meeting someone is a sign you're destined for one another. A couple from Breath of the Wild, Hilda, Kylie and Wobbin, had their meeting. In Tears of the Kingdom, learned that they're both married and still going strong. In fact, they have a daughter together, but as is custom for Gerudo, Verda has moved back to town to raise her daughter among her people. Even with how much importance they place on marriage, Gerudo still advocate for independence. They pursue their careers, with or without their husbands close by. And as for Wobbin himself, he decides that being close to his family in Gerudo Town is more important to him than living a free life. So he's happy to try to sneak in, fail, and live in a jail cell then. It is equal parts funny, tragic, stupid, and kind of heartwarming. Finally, take the Elder Guano. She was one of the few Gerudo who saw through your disguise in Breath of the Wild, but she was cool about it. She was just happy to reminisce about her old adventuring days, and how she always wanted to find Lover's Bond, but never did. In tears, she's started adventuring again, and she's made it to Lurelin, which Lover's Bond directly looks. It's a lovely depiction of how age doesn't have to slow you down, or signify the end of your story. As far as Tears of the Kingdom is concerned, Waba's has just begun. I don't have as much to say about the Koroks, except to state the obvious. They're adorable. One thing I did notice is that the Koroks hiding out in the world won't be phased by you throwing stuff. But the ones who provide escort missions and the ones at home in the Korok Forest will get spooked a little bit. My favorite was this one who holds these two cherry branches. I tossed out a breakthrough seed and saw him not just quiver, but also nervously point one of his branches out, like, weapon? Question mark? They also have this cute little waddling animation they do. I have little to say about the constructs too, but they are the first NPCs in the game, and I enjoy them.
Actually, it might not be visible thanks to the snow right now.
Which resemble both typical Zonai flashlights and the breakable flowers you use for light. Their large eyes and relatively personable design distinguishes them from more impersonal Sheikah mechs of old. In addition to May and Manny, I'll recap one last side quest with echoes from Breath of the Wild for my next point. You can meet a Gerudo whose Hylian husband has fallen sick. Again. She asks you for some medicinal ingredients. Again. But she'll make a comment acknowledging the first time. About how he got the sick once years ago.
Considering this is in the road to Gorath, I guess you're not expected to start upgrading armor until you've already completed your first dungeon, which is weird to me because you're encouraged to upgrade armor far earlier in Breath of the Wild, pretty much before.
Actually, having only some NPCs remember you is a great way of decentering the player. Their stories go on without. They have full lives outside of your limited
You go for any
lives.
temples
More
or
importantly,
dungeons
it's a good way of not
or
isolating
divine
anyone
beasts
who
or
skipped the
whatever
last
the
game,
frick you
while
want to call it.
jogging the memories of those who had. Not everyone has to remember you. But if you remember them, there actually is connective tissue between them. I hope I've convinced you of by now. Hopes from Garland was one of the first NPCs I ever photographed for this project, so it was strangely emotional for me when I got back to Hyrule for the first time, and encountered her as one of the very first people who welcomed me back, but she didn't recognize me, and that was okay. I'm less cool about Guido of all people forgetting. I know this game gets compared to God of War Ragnarok because it remixes existing systems and an existing map into something new, and it was released in close proximity to it. But the two games approach these remixes in a very different way. I think that's worth talking about. As a friend of mine pointed out, Ragnarok assumes Kratos did everything in 2018, completed every side quest, defeated every Valkyrie, found every collectible. Tears of the Kingdom makes no such presumptions. It assumes Link did the major quest lines, and progresses as if the things that would have impacted the world most have happened. But it doesn't draw a correlation between Link is close friends with the champion's descendants, of course. The villagers in Kakariko know him. He attended Hudson and Ronson's wedding. The two are still together and well acquainted with them. At the same time, everyone who Link could have recruited, Hudson and Terrytown, still in Terry. But were responsible for getting the town built and fully staffed? That's heavily implied, but still left fully open. That one Gerudo you helped by the side of the road, who were strangers passing in the night, that's okay. So far, I've told you about my personal favorite hits, but I've also made sure to bring a sizable number of them out so you can discover them for yourselves. For instance, Moon, one quest in Breath of the Wild referred to as a lover of all things ancient is very much still that. Now chasing a different kind of historical discovery. Finley and Sasan, the strange Zora hiding both get together, but who had this bizarre situation.
Take out my
going
horse
on
and towing
Asia,
harness.
and then a continent. Where Gerudo archaeologist Rotana returns with one of the coolest side quests, one that follows up on a mystery established in this game. Some revelations about Hyrule's past that really affected me. I leave the details of these characters and more out. Truthfully, the fact that they're all named parts from Breath of the Wild isn't possible to cover them all in movies. And I think it'd be fun if you discovered some for yourself. In fact, tell me about any cool finds in the comments if you want. It cool our finds. The commitment the game makes to unique personalities is special. Very much in the spirit of the franchise. Increasingly, I feel that the series in which I focus on appreciating small details seems to be as much about appreciating people making these games as they are about the games themselves. The following is credited for character. As character senior lead artists. We touched on Hiraoka's work rendered. He was an NPC artist on Breath of the Wild. Although the overlap between Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom developers was reportedly small, I do want to point out that, quote, worked on this group had a deep love and familiarity with material. It shows they know at the core what makes typical Zelda NPCs stand out. It means they know themselves and how to iterate on what came before. If many of them know these characters with traits of the demons of capacity, no matter how mighty, they know the right combinations to redistribute them in around this map. They know to cross over Poe and Bradley Cooper. And they know that quirky personalities like this work. They encourage the player to interact in fun ways and partake in mischief. It's all just so expressive. For all these reasons and more, Kurt's approach to sequel icing scenes from Breath of the Wild and developing there, Tears of the Kingdom, one of the most rewarding watching experiences I've had in quite some time. But what about its photography? Breath of the Wild did many things good, more things great, most things dang near perfect. Its photo mode was not one of them. I talked about this a bit in my very first NPC video, but I learned photographing NPCs for a year. Essentially, photos you took using its camera would only be saved to an in-game album. No way to export them to the Switch. The photos couldn't even be viewed in full screen, and were saved in a lower resolution than the actual game. Combined with the fact that the Switch can't save high-quality PNG screenshots unlike other home consoles, this meant that you were out of luck getting any of these photos onto at least without additional software. Back then, in the midst of
Are they really so lazy as
I
to
played around with Link's
not be able to climb up a little slope?
screenshotting tool for the camera. I ultimately favored the camera, but as of Tears' release, I do have some addendums. If I could suggest ways to make these cameras more versatile, I think there are some interesting solutions to be found in the scope. For one thing, there are some smaller, more agile critters who are much harder to capture as they scuttle around them. But imagine a way to combine your time and abilities from either game or photography. Imagine being able to shutter speed or jam your bullet for a laptop camera now. It's guess what? That's exactly what happens when you open your scope tab. You're seeing me watching some video out on control. And can do this for smaller birds.
It appears the Great Fairy doesn't exist.
And even Korons, the way the camera tool doesn't let you. Scope used to be accessible in midair, so I appreciate that it is in Tears of the Kingdom. Secondly, actually good ability and scope in Breath of the Wild. So, wouldn't have been
Why are they
By activating protection, cast the glow from your barrier onto nearby faces for additional light. Thankfully, Tears of the Kingdom also finally lets you full screen your counterparts. It doesn't solve it, but it solves enough. Virtual photography is far more viable pursuit. Photos are really pressed even within the album, but I love the art style, lighting, other effects of these games so much, I didn't mind that. It's lengthy and loud, soft blue, camera lens, complemented by simple automated game. Tears is still an extremely pretty photography experience, less for the product or for the process of people watching this game. I love getting lost just watching. I love seeing the jittering and the butterflies trilling about, and the amount of energy we're putting into making this such a breathing, bountiful ecosystem. Pictures feel less staged and more impulse, snapped up in a different world in its natural state. Considering how much else you're able to opting into filling out your compendium, it's like a real choice. A real nature photography simulator yourself prioritize. Thanks to the integrated
Double dang, what the hell?
Tools at your disposal, you're also able to complement your shots with cooling or effects. Whenever I found myself hurting for lighting, or felt like I flat on a character's face, I'd toss out a bright power to cast some additional light around our surroundings, thereby helping the shot. If you want a softer, actual, also put out some flint and firelight, and get some nice firelight. Your other tools have a lot of versatility in photography. Animals scuttle away when you get too close. Put on your best stealth armor, and they'll fall. Heading to the center that day, it just freeze it. Level table that needs a nice sculpture.
It costs money to upgrade your armors now rather than a one-time payment to permanently unlock, which I think is fine.
A higher angle shot, just toss out a hover stick. It's your personal adjustable tripod. Absolutely adore footprint. It's a pyro. Shots is a muster.
I'll have to see if I can do something about that later.
On top of that, it's been especially satisfying to track the NPCs as a fan of the predecessor. Back in that first NPC video, I mentioned that it felt difficult to be perfect about standalone, since all its NPCs have already been meticulously documented. The entire wiki page is dedicated to that. Additions made in this latest installment, those wiki pages will and have started to grow ever longer. But this time, I think I do have something I want to say about it. I want to talk about why I think that is. Why did Zelda Dungeon record them? This much attention to detail. Why is there a Breath of the Wild NPC dialogue tumblr dedicated to compiling every possible conversation from the previous game? Why didn't writer J. Manning rank every NPC he met in a critical for the backlog? Past, I've received messages about being first to notice certain details about NPCs that others hadn't picked up on. With these two titles, I find that that's a harder ask, and I guarantee it is because games like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom inspire exploration and taking attention to detail in everyone, not just me. They spark our imaginations of things. They by you in their quietest moments. Laugh with me, hijinks and hijinks and hijinks galore. They make you pay attention. I'm glad I do.
I think I'll end things off here.
What excites me above all else is that there's a narrative drive that ties this all together. Photography is a way of connecting the player to Zelda. Yeah, I'm going to revisit those bins we've been setting through. Zelda and Link are separated from most of the game, but as we saw in Breath of the Wild, she was a photography enthusiast. Not least of all because taking photos helped her to walk the world. Her camera was even part of her moveset in the spin-off, Age of Calamity. One of her very first interactions